Unreleased Pokemon are Pokemon found in official sketches and the code of game demos that never made it to the final cut. As more information about early Pokemon development has leaked onto the World Wide Web, so has the amount of unreleased elemental monsters. Some have been treated like royalty, with fans marching to Pokemon's headquarters after learning that they didn't make the final cut. Why didn't you add the cool electric tiger, Game Freak? Why? But for every baller left out, there is one that should never be let out of the dungeon under any circumstances. And we'll begin with no other than Anemon. First revealed when Pokemon Gold and Silver's Space World 97 demo leaked, Anemon is a scrapped evolution for the transformed Pokemon Ditto. It's also what I imagine bacteria to look like up close. I like to think that even during early development, Game Freak knew that absolutely no one would use this guy, so they biologically tied them to one of the most iconic Pokemon of all time. I can't believe they seriously wanted to scrap this facial expression for this one. I guess that's just what happens when you're older. Life becomes a constant, painful abyss. Anyway, an item exists in Pokemon called Metal Powder. It's only effective when held by Ditto, and doubles said Pokemon's defense stat in battle. You don't hear about it because it's pretty awful, as the boost doesn't carry over once Ditto uses Transform. But according to rumour, originally this item would have let Ditto evolve into Anemon if it was traded while holding it. But it's weird to give a Pokemon that's only going to click one button an evolution in the first place, especially given Ditto's hidden ability Imposter, which lets them transform straight away. What was it going to do? Transform twice as quickly? A deserved removal, in my opinion. While Anemon would have evolved using Metal Powder, our next entry looks like it's been on an entirely different powder. This reptilian abomination is named Crocky, a Generation 1 Pokemon Satoshi Tajiri design that never made the final cut, or any cuts at all, thankfully. It's fair to say I'm not a fan of this bloke's design. It's just so creepy. If it did make it into Red and Blue, I can guarantee it would only be used by super nerds whose lines of dialogue would justify Game Freak not letting you play as a girl in Generation 1. Do you really think those piercing, bloodshot eyes belong in a game rated E for everybody? Okay, maybe if they called it Cracky instead of Crocky, I could have seen the funny side in things, but sadly, I think people are more willing to cry than laugh at this poor reptilian, and I'm glad that Game Freak put it out of its misery. Now for something a little different. Instead of looking at an entirely new creature that got scrapped, we'll examine a past design of a published Pokemon, which I am very glad they amended. At a glance, Cleffa is kind of unremarkable. Just your generic run-of-the-mill cute Pokedex filler. But as the old saying goes, it's better to be unremarkable than to have a joystick coming out of your head. It's not that it's entirely hideous, I just have a lot of questions about Space World 97 Cleffa's thing. Is it an antenna? Receiving instructions from space? If you shake it too hard, does the round part start glowing like a light stick? Does it have Bluetooth?
The Bluetooth device is
I guess we'll never know. But now here is a real question. I want you to pause the video here and comment down below which Pokemon you think this is a beta version of. If you guessed Clefairy, number 1, well done, and number 2, would you like a career in the FBI? Because how did you do that? Talk about a glow up and a half, straight up went from I eat babies to I am baby. I am a cute ball that likes to sing. I am an electric mouse that lives in the forest. I am a fox with 3 different evolutions. I am from the moon. And this was meant to be the original face of Pokemon, by the way. Oh yeah, slap that bald head onto the children's lunchboxes. I'm sure that'll go down well with the parents. Time for a history lesson. First generation grass types, Bellsprout and Oddish, share a lot of similarities. Both have the secondary poison typing and chlorophyll ability, both grow into their first evolution at level 21, and both evolve again when exposed to a leaf stone. As you may know, Generation 2 gave us one of the Pokemon of all time in Blossom. The 1'4" Salad was a cross-generation branch from the Oddish family, giving trainers the option to make their gloom even worse. But then to keep up the similarities, shouldn't the Bellsprout line also have gotten a cross-generation alternate evolution? Well, they did. It just went unreleased, because it looks like this. Behold, Subomito. I hope I'm saying that correctly. An overgrown Bellsprout that was meant to evolve from Weeping Bell when exposed to a poison stone. Aren't all stones poisonous if you eat them? Whatever. Neither the stone nor bananas in pajamas over here made the final cut, and I hope it stays that way if they ever decide to remake the Johto games. The only good thing they did was provide some context as to why there's a whole bunch of people who dedicate their lives to worshipping Bellsprout in the Johto region, despite it being a Kanto Pokemon. An 100 feet Bellsprout, I wonder what that would look like. Well, as luck would have it, now let's jump to the 21st century for the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Beta. In 2020, the source code for the beginning of Generation 4 leaked onto the interwebs. While no scrapped Pokemon were revealed, we did see some weird and wacky earlier designs. Who can forget the likes of Beta Togekiss, Garchomp, Giratina. Giratina, are you okay? Lord, why have you forsaken me to be this way? No, I won't stop complaining, Beta Regigigas. My back sprite is a mountain. Before I rip into some of these early concepts, a quick bit of positivity. While the source code of Diamond and Pearl may have been robbed, that was fine, because it made us aware of another robbery, and that would be the altering of Beta Rampardos. This right here is the definition of aura, as the Zoomers would say. I'm not saying the Rampardos we got was bad, in fact, it's actually ranked in my top 15 favourite fossil Pokemon, but you have to admit, it is kind of getting mogged by their unreleased cousin over here. Speaking of aura, Beta Hippowdon. I'm sorry, but what in the hungry hippos is this? Thank goodness they decided to balance out the colouring and readjust the teeth, otherwise we were one crunch away from this guy's only location in the wild being Toys R Us. In terms of being basic, this is a seal level design. I wouldn't be surprised if in development this guy's name was Hippo. You're meant to be an Elite Four's ace, and yet you appear to have just come out of a Happy Meal. And is that a minion in its back sprite? Things just keep getting worse. But what if I told you that none of the Pokemon I have mentioned so far even come close to the biggest monstrosity that came out of this beta? My mouths are open, but I cannot scream. Whatever, none of these guys ended up becoming real, so I might as well concentrate my energy into something more productive, like the subscribe button, wink wink nudge nudge. Anyway, thank you to all my channel members, and I'll see you guys in the next video.